Good afternoon, friends and fans alike. I so appreciate when you tune in to my H3 TV, where we talk about navigating disruption with hope, health, and happiness. We know life can be hard, but we can always choose to look forward to something and stay hopeful, to figure out one of the 7 areas that we're going to work on our health, or to remember something happy. Today, I was going out to speak and I was thinking, you know what makes me happy? I have pockets in my dress. I want you to know that I'm going to detour a little bit because I love to detour in life. So yes, we're still focused on hope, health, and happiness in the midst of disruption in our organizations as well as individuals. But we're also going to talk about how to be playful and pineapple and positive, because my P3 is going out into the world and I'm loving the message, the movement, and the mission to give back to women and children. And so today I have a brand new guest to introduce you to. This is my new friend, Melissa. Hey, Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell my audience, and also I forgot to tell the audience, you can ask questions. You can ask questions now. You can ask questions later. You can put them in the chat. Myself and Melissa will both respond to you when we can at some point, maybe in the next 24 hours. All right. So Melissa, tell us who you are, where you live, what you do, all the good things.
I am Melissa Trimble. I am a mindset coach, which means I reprogram people's subconsciousnesses so that they fall in love with their charming, miraculous, wonderful selves. I work with people in groups as well as individually, and I am an author. I have another book coming out later this year, my Big Book of Bad Ideas series, which is based on my very big book of bad ideas that I've executed in my life. And the last one was on adulting, and this one is going to be on dating as an adult.
Ooh, I like
it. The horror, yes.
And the fun. Like, we got to find humor in it, and like learn some lessons and laugh about it and all the good things. All right. So you do lots of fun things like I do. We're so grateful for our work. I always like to talk to people about disruption happens in life. So when I just say the word disruption or storm or challenge, what comes to mind for you, just like a general definition of that season? What does that look like or feel like?
Usually disruptions are surprises. They often can be surprises. And even when we plan them, like what if it's a renovation or something, it's still going to disrupt our lives in ways we don't anticipate. And it's just like being in a car crash. The drunk driver's fine because they're just relaxed and free and easy. It's the person who tenses for the collision or the disruption. That's where the damage happens when we expect things to go a certain way, as opposed to being open and curious and, oh, interesting. I didn't expect to feel that way. And I do. I'm telling this story to myself. Is that true?
Is that true? I want to be sensitive because I lost my best friend drinking and driving. And so we know that not always the drunk driver is okay.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
No, it's okay. But I think you're right. I think you gave a great example. It's not necessarily drunk, but it's relaxed. And
relaxed
into it versus tense and resistant can be much more challenging. And I also love, Melissa, that you said, even when we choose a change in our job, a change in our life, a change in a relationship or where we live, even if we choose it, it can still be disruptive. And there can be things that we do not anticipate. All right. So I want to ask you, Melissa, personally, have you faced a disruption professionally or personally you'd be willing to share with our listeners, knowing that they can all have their own stories?
You bet. So I was raised by wolves, and a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma, a lot of therapy. And it was after my second, yes, can she learn, divorce, that I looked in the mirror and I'm like, you're the constant. The common denominator is you. You know all the reasons why you act this way. You create this chaos. But when are you going to change it?
Yeah.
You know, because of course everyone's just like, oh, you're going to be fine. You know, you'll meet, let's get on match.com. And I was like, poo-hoo-hoo. I'm going to get on the internet, but not for dating. I need to fix this situation. Yeah. And that's when I discovered mindset work. I'm working as a tax preparer, believe it or not, and which is a very miserable job, but it helped me suffer. And that's what I felt deeply that I should be doing, because our subconscious mind imprints before we're 12. So you're 6, 7, 5, and you're putting together your blueprint of living. Worst idea ever. Like, you don't understand what the heck is going on around you. And you're also at an age where you don't understand death or pain or hurt. So you're climbing the thing, you're jumping off the counter, so you hear no a lot. Knock it off. Stop that. And so that's where we get this inner critic voice that just yammers on incessantly, and you can other that, you can name it, you can call it Cruella, call it whatever you want, so that you can immediately flip that switch like Marcus Aurelius, OG Stoic philosopher style, and look at you having that feeling and having that thought. And that's when you get to be curious, like, oh, I noticed this. This
Yeah.
is how I'm feeling, and this is what I'm thinking. Well, is that accurate?
Right.
Every thought and feeling we have, they're all fine. But like if things go really well for me, I'll pop up with suicidal ideation out of the blue, and I'll be emailing my psychiatrist and my therapist and, just like, I'm not a danger, but I'm just letting you know this is happening,
Yeah. I
and
think what's really important, Melissa, that you're saying a couple of things. One, that where we come from does not have to be where we end up. So that's a big part of what I'm teaching. Let's rewrite the stories that don't serve us, especially if our young years were imprinted by trauma or challenge. So that's really important. I think both of us do that mindset work, that rewriting the narrative, rewriting the story, because we know we ourselves have done that work. That doesn't mean we've arrived and we have it all figured out. What it means is we're acknowledging where we came from was not ideal. Some people do have ideal childhoods. That is not what we had, right? But you also said, we can change it. We're both mindset that work. Melissa, you are helping people say this story may have served you to a point. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Something you said that was so important. I was just talking to someone earlier about it, and it had to do with a career situation, is that when we are going through lots of relationships, when we are going through lots of jobs, when we are going through lots of friendships, if we are willing to step back and say, wait a second, let me look at what is my role in this. What was I missing? I love and appreciate that instead of saying, let me get on another dating app, they must have all been jerks. In fact, I'm real sensitive to working with women that tell me this guy was a jerk and this guy was, and I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, at some point we have to change us. We do attract partially what we are. And so to be really healthy and grounded and aware of that, we can attract healthier relationships, whether it's friendship or significant. So I love that you were honest enough with yourself to say, I'm going to take a step back and work on me for a minute. And
Mhm.
I have so many clients that when they really do that, like, it's life changing in every area. When they own their work on themselves, then we can be better at other things, but start with you. So I love that. So good. So what I want to know is, so really your disruption was your beginning, was your childhood
Yeah.
with your family. Okay. Family dynamics. We both come from big families. So I want to know, what did you do, or what do you do now? You kind of already started some strategy sharing, but I just want to know, when life gets hard, either in those moments or today, due to past trauma, what do you do to keep your mind positive and hopeful moving forward?
Self-care, nutrition, hydration, moving your body, putting into yourself, into your mind, into your body what will serve you. And if you are having the physical markers of whether it's anxiety or a panic attack, or, just the stress is wearing you down. I just want to sleep for 12 hours. Oh my gosh, I can't handle this. Step back from the overwhelm and consider going big. Look at yourself. I'm sitting in this chair. Okay, I'm inside this building. Okay, there now I see the mountains of Virginia. Oh, okay, the whole United States and the oceans and the world. We're
Mm,
spinning through the universe on a rock. Come on. Like, that's pretty freaking cool, for one. And
yeah,
secondly, within our own bodies that are proportionally the same amount of liquid as the earth. So that's just cool as heck. We get to also understand that we're a miracle. We're filled with lightning and minerals and water. It's gorgeous.
I love that. Beautiful. And I know we have some listeners, so feel free to write questions and comments in the chat. We love to know who's watching. We can't see your names right now, but a quick hello or a question is always welcome. Melissa, I love that. I love this. You did two things inside of that. So what you're really telling people is, let's get grounded. Let's be present in our bodies where we are, but then let's look at the big picture and then zoom out and then zoom back in. And I love the word gorgeous. And I think, how often do you look at your amazing body and what it does that we take for granted most days, every day, and how gorgeous and amazing it is? So I love that. You kind of stay hopeful by first grounding, then going out really big, and then coming back to, oh my gosh, I can think, I can feel, I can do. How about healthy? I always think, Melissa, when I talk about health, I'm thinking about your physical, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, your financial, your career health, your relationship health. Health is so many things, right? And so
Mhm.
when we're in the midst of a spinning or an overwhelmed moment of disruption in our life or season of disruption, because it doesn't wait for one to end for another one to come, right?
Fair.
What are some of yours? You already kind of shared some of the things you do. And I love that I often ask, what's in your medicine cabinet? When we think about movement or laughter is in our medicine cabinet. So what do you do? What are some of your tips or strategies to stay healthy when life gets hard?
One big one is recognize the way your brain works. And when we're dozing off and when we're waking up, our brain is in a theta state, and that is highly, highly suggestible.
Mhm.
So, whether you're telling yourself that you are an amazing miracle and you're so happy and grateful that you are on this planet, that you are filled with love, that the world is a safe place for you, it might not feel, you might be like, puff, puff. No, it's not a safe place. I don't think so. But when you can imagine yourself in that space and positively reinforce that with yourself and you doze off, and then when you wake up, what's going to be hilarious? I mean,
Mhm.
you can either do the same thing, like, I'm amazing. These are my strengths. I am a powerhouse, or I am a tower of strength, or, whatever your words are.
Yeah.
And what is gonna make me laugh so hard I worry I get the hiccups? Or, like, I will literally fall off my chair, like, I wonder what it's gonna be, and if you make space for yourself for that kind of laughter and humor, it's a endorphin city.
Yeah.
So, you can really get the dopamine hits rolling by admitting to yourself, I mean, I'm hilarious. I do ridiculous stuff all the time. I'm standing in a room like, "Where are my glasses? I don't." And why not be charmed by that instead of having that inner critic voice, that Cruella, come along and say, like, "You're ridiculous. You can't even remember where your glasses are, and they're holding them in their hand. That's absurd. How do you even think you can help other people?" Like, it just goes deep immediately.
Deep quick, deep quick.
Oh,
Well, I love it. You're like moving all my questions along. See, you're 3 steps ahead. I love that. That's because you're a coach and we know all the things. But I really, two things you said there that I think are important is, first of all, and you have done some research, but understanding how our body works, right? So understanding how our body works and how powerful our mind is, right?
yep.
So we decide. I always say every day, don't live by or live by choice, not by chance or by circumstance. It doesn't mean I always feel like thinking positive things or doing positive things or being generous. It means I know the power of it. I know
Yeah.
the power into my brain. So you understand that part of staying healthy is making a decision. I get up in the morning, my brain is very viable. It will listen to whatever I choose to tell it. I'm going to tell it good stuff. I'm going to tell it I'm gorgeous. I'm going to tell it I'm brilliant. I'm going to tell it I'm fun. And I'm going to believe it. Because
Yes.
right before when I get up and when I go to bed, I'm going to repeat that. So a lot of people will say affirmation cards. I'll say belief cards. I say read them till you believe them. That's what we call them, belief, not affirm. We believe it already. And sometimes we have to say it 1,000 times and sometimes every day the rest of our life. But I know when we come from a place of dysfunction, it is a lifelong journey. We don't arrive. We just get up and we do it again and again. So I really love that. My third question I want to ask you about is happiness. I know laughter is the best medicine. And so you already kind of told us, but do you have a strategy or somewhere you specifically go so you can laugh? I love laughing at yourself, but do you have some place where you go to find that happiness if you feel sadness coming or overwhelmed?
Search. DuckDuckGo, search for a funny meme. You can even pick your topic. You can look at something adorable, babies or kittens or puppies or the trees. And also keep in mind too, it's been proven that the patterns of leaves and branches, even when reproduced on a solid surface, that is soothing to our brain. So if you hear about things called like forest bathing, or so
Mhm.
many of us are like, get out in nature, it literally is a cause and effect.
It's
When
true.
you look at the trees and the branches, you soothe your brain.
Mm.
And keep in mind too what you are feeding your mind and emotions, because if you are just getting off on the righteous indignation you get to feel because you were wronged, okay. I mean, it's not your fault, but it's your problem. So, do you want to just delight in that victimhood, or do you want to let go what's not serving you and
Mm.
move forward? And
Yeah,
it's just as simple as realizing you can let it go and actually releasing it.
that's right. That's right. Releasing it, and then we can laugh and we can be silly. I'm going to focus. Dysfunctional childhood is too big of a picture for us to deal with today. So I'm going to bring it a little bit smaller because I want to ask you a question specific to divorce. Let's talk about divorce today. I haven't been divorced, but I know a lot of my listeners have, and that can be a really hard thing. And so I want to know, when you went through either divorce or whatever happened, what do you wish you would have known before walking through a divorce that you know now and you help other people process? Like, is there something inside of leaving a marriage that you wish you would have had that wisdom, or the lessons you've learned from it that you would go back and tell someone else that's either going through a divorce or contemplating a divorce or whatever their story is?
Absolutely. And it centers around self-worth and self-value. So imagine someone in your family, someone you love, is going to have a baby. Oh, amazing. You have every hope and dream for this little blob of cells that doesn't, doesn't even have a lung yet,
Yeah.
and it grows and you get to see the baby grow and the pregnancy belly gets bigger and then the baby arrives. And this is of all value. You cannot assign a worth or a value to this amazing baby.
Yeah.
So when does that baby become not enough because they don't have a partner, or they don't make this kind of money, or they don't have this kind of a profession? Like, at what point do we flip that? And let's, like, seriously get deep, get philosophical about it. Why do our minds do that? Well, it's because of all the riffraff we take in as a kid, and then that's where we blueprint how living should occur. What is it to be a human being in the planet? What is it to be a parent or a friend? And we're putting all this stuff we have no concept of what the heck is going on. We're not even a third of the way baked. Our brain is much smaller. It's not able to handle all of the impulses and stimuli that we are looking at and that we are experiencing.
So if someone was going through a divorce right now, what would you say to them? They're in the midst of the disruption, of the heartbreak. How would you encourage them on this journey?
What about you made that person fall in love with you? Is it true? Is it true now? What changed? Are you valuable? I mean, I would honestly print out Claudia Howard's laws of human worth. You're infinitely valuable by virtue of breathing and being here.
Really, what you want to pour into those people. Again, I'm cautious to speak to it because I haven't gone through it. I've gone through a breakup, but not a divorce. I know it's different. It's easy to lose your worth in the midst of a divorce and to wonder, do you have value? So what you really want to say into those people is, you have worth. And even if this person's walking away, and whether you're choosing it or they're choosing it, you have worth. You have worth, you have worth, you have worth, because it's such a crushing. That's what I've heard from people say to me, Annie, when I got divorced, I felt like a failure.
Oh,
and when my marriage failed, I felt failed. And I was like, oh, I hate that. You're not a failure. Life is all about journeys and messes and making up and discovering and learning, hopefully lifelong learning. What do you wish you would have known personally prior to going through a divorce? Is there anything like I wish someone would have told me?
For me, it's all about self-worth.
Okay.
And I think that with my clients as well, it's either they feel like they're not worthy of love, they're not worthy of success, they don't deserve whatever. And there's a title in my book, Deserve has nothing to do with it. We think something is impossible, and so we don't try.
Yeah.
Like, of course, nothing's going to happen because you didn't take the shot.
Take the shot. And deserve's a hard word. Like, some people say you deserve it, and other people say, well, you didn't deserve it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, deserve is a fascinating word. How about this, Melissa? I wanted to think about is, oh my gosh, it went in and out of my brain. Oh, I wanted to hear a success story of one of your clients that you've worked with. What was their scenario? Why did they hire you? Why did you start working with them? And then what has been a result or a success of working with you?
The person I'm thinking of hired me as, war-torn areas seemingly mushroom, and the kids are growing up and having a lot of struggles. And the benefit of working with me is, for one, understanding that what you're telling yourself may or may not be true. and also understanding the role you're playing in the disruptions in your life. What
Mm,
role are you playing in those relationships that maybe you think should be a certain way?
yeah,
And finding out why you think X, Y, or Z should be a certain way, whether it's relationships, money, family, any of the areas of living,
yeah,
finance, work, any of that is all up to you. And you do have a choice, and you will only have that choice if you stand up for yourself and draw your boundary about how you will be treated, about how you will live,
yeah.
and you're absolutely infinitely worth that. And so that was a huge change to go from lots of tears, lots of yelling, lots of reactivity to, oh, you know what I'm feeling right now? What I'm verbalizing that to your kid is XYZ. Isn't that interesting? I'm telling myself this story. What story are you telling yourself?
Mm,
And that was amazing because that was the ripple effect. That was the one of the strongest stories, because the relationship with the kiddo or young person was it was fraught. Nothing could be said by anyone that didn't trigger off a rampage. And I think I am neurodivergent from here to eternity. So I know that I focus on this a lot. Think about this. You may not be neurodivergent, and you may exhibit neurodivergent traits. The reactivity, the inability to handle emotions. Obviously, we see that when kids are doing milestones like toddlers, teenagers, leaving the home, getting your first job, or, whatever those transitions, disruptions are. Then we get to also understand that we can have all the feelings. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. And we get to step back and be like, oh, this feeling is coming upon me and over me like a wave. Hmm, interesting. I
yeah.
am tsunami of grief right here. And also, we can grieve things that we did plan, leaving a job,
Mhm.
even though you're going to a job that will serve you and your family better. There's also things from that job. You knew it. It was maybe feels daunting to learn a new job or a new workplace culture.
Yeah. I think, Melissa, really you keep going back to it, and I think it's so important. I think it's a lot of your work is when we know our self-worth, we can have boundaries. When we
Mhm.
know our self-worth, we're worth investing in and getting the therapy we need so we can control our emotions, so we can show up the best version, so we can hold up a mirror and say, what was my role, without saying you're a loser? What was my role? I'm horrible. No, what was my role in this career that didn't work out, in this move, in this friendship, in this
Mhm.
relationship, whatever it is? I think knowing your worth, it feels safer to put boundaries around it. So I love what you've shared today, Melissa. I know people are going to want to know more about you. So what is the best place to connect with you? Where do you show up where people can engage and ask you questions?
LinkedIn is the best spot for me. I am Melissa Trimble. You can see my name spelled out there. And if you comment on this, I am happy to reach out.
Wonderful. Before we let you go, Melissa, I want to know: do you have one last thought? Somebody's listening right now, and they don't feel as great about themselves as you wish they did, as I wish they did. Maybe they're going through a disruption, or maybe they've come from a dysfunctional childhood. What do you want to say to them before we say goodbye to just encourage them? What message do you have for our listeners?
This is a 3-step process that sounds really easy and is actually very tricky. Take an honest inventory of yourself, who you are, how others perceive you, how you move through the world. Identify who you want to be, what kind of person, emotionally connect with that. What does that look like? And where are there maybe gaps? Are you, fumbling over follow-ups or networking or, like something that is seemingly simple and yet you make up reasons that you can't? And literally ask yourself, is it possible? What if? What if I could, go into work late on Thursdays because there's a networking thing?
Yeah.
Well, talk to your superior and see if they might even pay for it.
Exactly. They might pay for coaching. And I love too, Melissa, when you're really doing two benchmarks. You're saying, where are you and where do you want to be? And that's why people hire coaches, is we get to help support them in that gap so
Yeah.
that they can get to understand their beauty, and they're gorgeous and they're amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, Melissa. Melissa, if you'll please add your website or any other links so people can connect with you or learn more about you or your books to our chat, that'd be great. Thank you so much to our listeners. Remember, if you listen to this later, you can still write questions and comments. Melissa and I love hearing from all of you, and we're happy to respond. Take care and make it a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you.